Hey there, hope all is well. Back at you today with some more RTD News updates. And as you can tell from today's article, Calamity hedge fund manager gives cash back to clients. I'm going to be talking about this gentleman right here, Mr. Philip Parker, a hedge fund manager in Australia that is doing something that is not really too common in the fact that he recognizes things aren't what they should be. And so he's basically, after 30 years or so, deciding to hang it up and return to his investors their money pending what he considers a looming housing and property crisis. So I got about 5 or so articles where I'm going to cover. And as always, I'm going to leave the links below for you to dive into further if you're interested. So let's dive into today's news. Here I have 5 articles, which 4 are all dealing with the situation out of Australia with the hedge fund manager, Mr. Philip Parker. And then I have the very last one, which deals with the current index of the housing bubble that we're currently experiencing here in the United States. And so the very first article here is from Sydney Morning Herald, and it's entitled, Altair Asset Manager Hands Back Cash to Clients, Citing Looming Correction. The next one here is from the also Australia ABC.net, and it says Altair Parker defends decision to liquidate investment fund on property bubble fears. And the next one here is from the Financial Review as well, and it says what to make of Altair's decision to sell everything and return cash. And the next one here is from Bloomberg, and it's in regards to a comment made by Citigroup, a gentleman, and it says Australia must fix its spectacular housing bubble. And then the very last one here is from Wolf Street, of which we're talking about a little bit of the housing bubble this here in the United States of America. So let's dive into the first one briefly. And as always, scroll down below if you're interested in reading more. So just to give you an idea what's going on here, it says Australian asset manager, Altair Asset Management, has made the extraordinary decision to liquidate his Australian shares fund and return hundreds of millions of dollars back to his clients, citing an impending property market calamity and that overvalued and dangerous time in this cycle. It says giving up management and performance fees and handing back cash from investments managed by us is a seminal decision. However, preserving clients' assets is what all fund managers should put before their own interests, says Philip Parker, who served as Altair's chairman and chief investment officer. He said this on Monday. The very next article, Altair Park defends decision to liquidate investment fund on property bubble fears. He gets into a little bit more details as to why that is. And so it says in a surprise move, Australia's booming property market has made one asset manager worried enough to shut down his multi-million-dollar fund and hand back all the money to his investors. It says in the last 6 to 8 months, the investment committee Altair have felt to varying degrees that the property market was heading into bubble territory. He told the ABC in an exclusive radio interview on the Business PM. It says the property market will unwind soon in Mr. Parker's opinion. It says the massive leverage that you're seeing in terms of people's exposure to property will then flow over to other liquid assets, he said. It says secondly, I felt China property and debt issues will become a major factor later this year. And the overvalued Australian equity market is significant for active investors. We were finding in the last 3 to 5 months less and less value. It says the fourth reason that's quite clear to me is that there's an oversized geopolitical risk and there's an unprecedented U.S. political environment. So basically his 4 reasons for why he's doing what he's doing, which a lot of people don't agree with, because if you go down below this, it gives a couple of his competitors and them criticizing him for what he's doing. But basically saying that they themselves recognize there's problems, but they don't have that desire to just shut down things because of, what they project could come, because there's always been things like that in the market. But according to Mr. Parker, this time it's going to be a lot different. The very next article from Financial Review, it says, what to make of Altair's decision to sell everything and return cash. So basically just another point of view from another publication. It says a principled and brave decision to a cop-out or something else altogether with a question mark. It says fund manager, extraordinary decision to liquidate Altair's share funds and return the hundreds of millions in cash to his investors is a big statement you can make about what you see in this market. That is, if it really is about the market and not something else. It says, as Parker told me, we didn't want to be the guys to go back to the clients in 3 or 4 months or however long it takes and say, you know what? The last 3 or 4 years we've made these big performance fees and charged you but a fair 1% management fee. Well, oops, we saw it coming, but we didn't warn you because we thought it would we'd just collect our fees. So basically saying that, I guess it's weighing on his conscience that he's doing his clients a disservice by continuing to charge them, as you mentioned here, a 1% management fee, even though he says he sees something coming, which will mean a major loss that will, kind of make that 1%, work well for him. But his clients on the other end are the ones that's going to fall up short. And so there's more information there if you're interested. And now I'll get into the next article here from Bloomberg, which has to do with Australia must fix its spectacular housing bubble. And so it says, Lenders chief economist Altair says cooling measures are needed. And so Australia is experiencing a spectacular housing bubble, which needs to be addressed with tougher regulation measures, said William Altair, Citigroup's and Quarter chief economist, said a shortage of housing, coupled with the record low interest rates, has made Sydney the world's second most expensive property market. Said the city's home prices jumped 16% in 12 months through April, helping stoke record household debt and putting ownership increasingly beyond the reach of many. It says it had better be focused on immediately to try and tether a soft housing landing. Butter told reports in Sydney on Wednesday. Clearly, if these things are not managed well, they can be a trigger for a cyclical downturn. So just to give an idea of what's going on here, it says here are some visual aids to help the Fed spot the housing bubble. So it basically gets into the idea that one of the recent Fed officials came out saying that it's hard to spot bubbles, and then he goes back to 2006 and say how prior to the housing bubble popping in 2006 or so, or around that time frame, that it was not possible to see it. And so he basically says here he'll do it for them, help give them some graphs that they can see for themselves some bubbles as they're forming. So just to scroll down, he uses a Case-Shiller index, which has been a very reliable and dependable index that kind of, ranks the prices of houses and puts them in an index form for our country. And so here we have a graph here that was just released this past March, and it says the housing bubble. Here we have the housing bubble in May of 2006 at its peak, a little bit less than 190. And here we are as of this past March. The housing bubble has exceeded the last housing market bubble. So just going according to these this graph here, it shows that we are definitely experiencing something that is not going to be pleasant in the form of a bubble when it does burst. And then here he goes to a couple cities. He gives a couple details about just how prices has went up. It says the other day Zillow reported that the national median home value in April rose 7.3% year over year to $198,000. It said it too beat the peak of the housing bubble in 2007 by 8,000 it looks like. It's one in Boston, and so it was Boston at about 180 or so on the index, and as of this past March, it is closer to 200 on the index. So clearly, the pricing is in a inflated bubble. Here we have Seattle, right below. It's about 190, and as of now, we're about 210. So you see that it peaked here. It dipped here, and it's peaked even higher. The next one here is from Denver, and it shows here a housing bubble about 140, and it dropped down to, looks like about 120-ish, and now it's up to 195. So the house prices in Denver is clearly inflated. It says, and here's Denver's housing price bubble, where prices have soared a breathtaking 38% since the prior peak in 2008, 2006. So just want to take a minute to share this with you guys and let you know that there are people out here with a conscience that are concerned about losing money for their investors, of which I imagine and I would hope that there'll be more gentlemen who are moved in their conscience to realize that, this monetary system we're in is unraveling, and the housing market is in a bubble. It's going to be a correction, which will trickle into every other form of financial instrument that's being offered to the public, whether it be the stock market, the bond market, you name it. They're all going to be impacted and affected by the decisions made by our monetary powers that be, of which is going to come back to hurt everyone who's not aware of this matter. So just want to take a quick minute to let you know what's happening in the news. As always, subscribe to RTD if you're interested in hearing more news and updates. And then also leave a comment below. I would love to hear your thoughts. Thanks.